Look up at the night sky for a second. For as long as humanity has existed, that bright, calm, silver sphere hovering silently above us has been our constant cosmic companion. The moon stabilizes Earth's tilt, creates our predictable ocean tides, and lights up our darkest nights. But what if one day, something pulls the cosmic handbrake on our beloved satellite? Imagine a rogue planet drifting from interstellar space, or a massive stray asteroid collides with the far side of the moon. The collision doesn't shatter the moon into dust immediately, but it does something far worse. It completely kills its orbital momentum. Suddenly, the orbital velocity that kept the moon safely suspended nearly 250,000 miles away drops to zero. Gravity, cold, relentless, and unforgiving, takes full control. The moon begins a slow, catastrophic death spiral straight toward planet Earth. What actually happens on the surface of Earth as a giant 216,000 trillion-ton rock slowly falls out of the sky? Let us break down the apocalyptic countdown, day by terrifying day. Right at the beginning, during week 1, you would not even notice anything wrong just by glancing up at the sky. The moon is currently about 238,000 miles away from us. When it first starts falling, it moves relatively slowly. To the average person going to work, grabbing a coffee, or scrolling on their phone, the moon looks completely normal. But inside top-secret astronomical observatories across the globe, scientists are staring at their telemetry screens in absolute silent horror. NASA, ESA, and global space agencies realize the horrifying truth. The moon's orbit is shrinking rapidly. By week 2, the moon has crossed half the distance to Earth. Now, even without a telescope, you can visually see that something is terribly wrong. The moon looks noticeably larger in the night sky. It glows brighter, casting strange, long, unnatural shadows across city streets. But the visual change is nothing compared to the physical violence beginning to unfold across Earth's oceans. You see, tidal force is calculated based on distance. The closer two celestial bodies get to each other, the gravitational pull scales exponentially. As the moon draws nearer, its gravitational grip on Earth's oceans begins to yank water toward itself with terrifying, unimaginable strength. Normal high tides and low tides instantly vanish. Instead, the oceans are pulled into massive, bulging, mountain-sized swells of water that follow the moon as Earth rotates. By week 3, the moon is only 30,000 miles away. That is closer than some of our high-altitude geostationary communication satellites. At this point, the moon dominates half of the night sky, like a giant, cratered ceiling hanging directly over our heads. Global coastal infrastructure is obliterated. Giant 1,000-foot-tall mega-tsunamis sweep across coastal cities across the globe. New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, and Sydney are completely swallowed under miles of turbulent, rushing ocean water. Millions of people living near coastline areas are forced into a chaotic, desperate evacuation inland, fleeing toward high-altitude mountain ranges like the Rockies, the Alps, and the Himalayas. But the ocean tides are only the beginning of the horror. You see, the moon doesn't just pull on liquid water, it pulls on solid rock. Earth's crust, normally rigid and stable, begins to stretch, warp, and bulge upward toward the sky by several meters every single day. This constant, brutal twisting of Earth's tectonic plates unleashes catastrophic, magnitude 9 and 10 earthquakes everywhere on the planet simultaneously. Dormant supervolcanoes, like the massive magma chamber beneath Yellowstone National Park, are ripped open as the crust fractures. Billions of tons of black ash, toxic sulfur, and fiery molten lava erupt into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and plunging the planet into a choking, red-tinted twilight. Electricity grids snap like thin twigs. Gas pipelines rupture underground, triggering massive citywide firestorms. Communication satellites are dragged out of their orbits by the moon's chaotic gravity field, crashing back down through the atmosphere like falling stars. Civilization is crumbling into chaotic survival in less than a month. And yet, the moon hasn't even touched us yet. As the crater giant creeps closer and closer, It crosses an invisible mathematical point of no return in space that astrophysicists call the Roche Limit. And when the moon crosses the Roche Limit, physics unleashes a spectacle so terrifyingly beautiful, it will literally shatter the moon into pieces before it ever impacts the ground. By week 4 of the absolute lunar nightmare, the moon has crossed into the dangerous inner perimeter of Earth's gravitational sphere. It is now hovering less than 10,000 miles above the clouds. The moon now fills up almost the entire horizon. When you look up, you no longer see a distant night sky. You see giant, jagged impact craters, black volcanic maria, and rocky mountain ridges hanging directly above your head, so close that you feel like you could reach out and touch the ancient gray dust. But as the moon approaches this ridiculously close distance, it reaches a famous, mathematically violent threshold known as the Roche Limit. What is the Roche Limit? In simple physics terms, it is the exact distance where the gravitational tidal forces of a larger body, like Earth, overcome the internal gravitational pull holding a smaller celestial body together. You see, the moon is held together as a solid, spherical rock purely by its own gravity. But because the near side of the moon is thousands of miles closer to Earth than its far side, Earth's gravitational pull on the front of the moon is insanely stronger than the pull on the back. As the moon crosses the Roche Limit, roughly 11,000 miles above our planet, Earth's gravity grabs the front face of the moon with such brutal force that the moon can no longer hold itself together. First, giant, thousands of miles long fractures split across the dusty lunar surface. Massive boulder fields, mountain ranges, and entire crater floors crumble and explode outward into the void. Then, in a moment of unbelievable cosmic violence, the moon literally shatters apart in midair. It does not explode in a quick, fiery flash like a sci-fi movie Death Star. Instead, it breaks down into trillions of jagged, glowing, multi-mile-wide asteroids, floating boulders, and fine gray cosmic dust that stretch out into a massive, swirling spiral around Earth. Within just a few days, Earth undergoes a dramatic transformation. Our planet becomes a ringed world, similar to Saturn, but infinitely more terrifying. Surrounding Earth is a blindingly bright, glowing ring system composed of pulverized lunar rock, molten iron debris, and illuminated moon dust. During the day, these rings span across the sky like a giant, glittering archway of light. At night, they cast an unnatural, eerie silver glow across the ruined surface below. For a brief, deceptive moment, surviving humans hiding in mountain caves might look up at these brilliant new rings and think the worst of the disaster is finally over. The giant rock hanging over their heads is gone. The tides stop pulling oceans up mountain slopes. The sky looks strangely peaceful. But that calm is a deadly, temporary illusion. You see, those trillions of lunar fragments orbiting in Earth's brand-new ring system are not floating in a stable, permanent orbit. The atmosphere of Earth, swollen and bulging from volcanic activity and ocean evaporation, extends much further into space than usual. The low-orbiting fragments of the destroyed moon begin scraping against the top layers of our atmosphere. Atmospheric drag acts like a giant brake on the orbiting lunar rocks. One by one, then hundreds by hundreds, and finally millions by millions, those giant lunar fragments lose their orbital velocity and fall out of the ring system. What follows is the most prolonged, devastating meteor shower in the 4.5 billion-year history of planet Earth. Millions of mountain-sized moon rocks slam into the atmosphere at speeds exceeding 20,000 miles per hour. As they compress the air in front of them, atmospheric friction heats the rocks up to thousands of degrees, turning each falling lunar fragment into a blazing, roaring fireball. The sky literally turns into a blanket of screaming yellow-orange fire. Thousands of giant lunar meteorites strike the ocean and continents every single minute. Each impact unleashes the kinetic energy of hundreds of hydrogen bombs, blasting giant craters into the land and sending blinding shockwaves rolling across the continents. The global atmosphere begins to heat up rapidly. The kinetic energy of millions of falling fireballs transfers directly into heat. The air temperature at ground level skyrockets to hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit. Forests across North America, Europe, Asia, and South America instantly ignite into runaway mega-firestorms. The entire surface of planet Earth is turning into an oven. As millions of burning lunar fragments continue to rain down from our newly formed rings, planet Earth reaches a state of absolute, unmitigated thermal overload. The global atmosphere is no longer just hot. It is transformed into a swirling, incandescent furnace of superheated steam, carbon dioxide, and dense volcanic ash. Temperatures at sea level surge past hundreds of degrees. What happens to our oceans under this brutal thermal bombardment? The massive liquid bodies that once covered over 70% of Earth's surface begin to boil violently. Millions of cubic miles of ocean water evaporate into thick, heavy white vapor, creating a planetary blanket of dense steam clouds that completely blocks out any view of outer space. Earth now looks like a smaller, far more hostile version of the planet Venus, a scorching, glowing pressure cooker wrapped in thick, toxic clouds, where the surface is constantly pummeled by falling rocks from the disintegrating lunar ring. At this point, any human being, animal, or plant remaining on the surface of the continents has been completely wiped out. The surface is a chaotic, apocalyptic hellscape of bubbling lava, boiling salt flats, and continuous meteorite impacts. So, is this the absolute final end of the human story? Is humanity officially extinct? Remarkably, not quite. If any members of our species managed to survive this global extinction event, they did so by going deep, deep underground or beneath the seabed before the moon crossed the Roche Limit. Inside ultra-deep, nuclear-powered subterranean bunkers carved miles into the solid granite bedrock of continental plates, small colonies of humans might manage to cling to existence. Powered by geothermal energy from Earth's molten core or advanced nuclear fusion reactors, these underground shelters could operate closed-loop environmental systems, recycling water, growing crops under artificial lighting, and scrubbing carbon dioxide from their air. For these underground survivors, life would change forever. They would become a subterranean civilization, living in artificial caverns for dozens of generations, completely cut off from the surface world. To their children, terms like sunlight, blue sky, fresh breeze, and night moon would sound like ancient, mythical fairy tales. Meanwhile, back on the surface, time slowly begins to heal the planet. Over thousands of years, the planetary ring system gradually clears out. Most of the lunar debris either crashes down onto Earth or gets flung out into deep space by gravity. The deadly meteorite rain finally slows down and stops. Without the constant kinetic heating from falling space rocks, Earth begins the long, agonizing process of cooling down. The massive layers of steam trapped in the thick atmosphere condense back into liquid water. It begins to rain, not for hours or days, but for centuries. A continuous global downpour lasts for hundreds of years, filling up the vast impact basins and refilling the ocean floors. But the world that emerges from this steam bath is permanently transformed. Earth no longer has a moon. Nights on the reclaimed planet are pitch black, illuminated only by distant stars. Without the moon's strong gravitational grip acting as a stabilizing gyroscope, Earth's axial tilt begins to wobble unpredictably over millions of years, causing extreme, chaotic climate shifts from sudden global ice ages to scorching planetary heat waves. Ocean tides, once driven by lunar gravity, are now weak, sluggish ripples powered solely by the distant pull of the sun. And yet, despite all the violence, physics, and devastation, life finds a way. Extremophile bacteria living around ocean floor hydrothermal vents, buried deep beneath the boiling seas, survive the disaster completely unharmed. As the oceans cool down, these microscopic organisms adapt, evolve, and begin crawling back onto the newly shaped continents, restarting the grand cycle of biological evolution on a brand new, moonless Earth. The collision of the moon is a stark, terrifying reminder of just how fragile our cosmic oasis really is. We live on a tiny blue marble suspended in a dynamic, violent universe where nothing lasts forever. So the next time you step outside on a clear night, look up at that bright, cratered silver ball hanging peacefully in the sky. Appreciate its quiet beauty, its steady orbit, and the delicate balance it provides for our world. If you enjoyed this epic planetary scenario, smash that like button, subscribe to Cosmic Clueless, and leave a comment below. What would be your ultimate survival plan if the moon started falling tomorrow? Stay curious, stay safe, and keep looking up.